Welcome to the Ultimate Mixtape, an interactive podcast on a mission to create an epic playlist. With submissions from your host, creative guests, and superfans along the way. What songs will make the cut? This podcast is about music, friends, and memories. Share your favorite stories on www.theultimatemixtape.com to join in the podcast fun. Here's your host, Jess Manzilla.
Welcome, Keegan, Calmes.Vinyl Theater. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. I've been a big fan of yours for a long time. I know Jimmy has too. And with Vinyl Theater coming back, it's been pretty exciting for us as super fans to get a chance to see you guys working together again. Can you just tell us a little bit about how that came together and what brought you guys back together?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of starts off a little bit as a sad story. You know, obviously we had a little bit of a falling out as friends and things were really tough, especially when the label we parted ways and everything, and things just kind of got difficult. And I made my way down to Austin to kind of start a life here. And we went probably a couple of years without talking. And unfortunately, Jeffrey Paulus, he passed away, and he was our very first bass player on when we were Alchemy, and we put out some demos. He's this phenomenal bass player. And he struggled for a long time with diabetes, and eventually, you know, his health, he succumbed to that, and it was really sad. And Chris reached out to me after 2 years and said, "Hey, I wanted you to know this, that Jeffrey had passed away." And so we talked a little bit, and I think, you know, through that we kind of realized too, like, hey, you know, there's such a special thing that we did with him and what we did together too. And that kind of opened up the door to us talking again for a long time. And, you know, his wife, Megan, reached out to me and a little bit later and was like, "Hey, you know, I just wanted to talk to you. You know, it's been a very long time." And we all reconciled, and it was this great thing. And I came home at some point, and we all got together, and it was like no time had passed, and we were making jokes. We had this fantastic night of hanging out together, talked about all the exciting stuff we wanted to do. And then we just started to do it. We just started sending ideas back and forth, and it turned into, you know, we had like 10 that we liked, and none of those ended up being the first song. It ended up being Love You to Death, which, you know, once we had the song, we went, this is the one. And we finished it so quickly because we, you know, all gravitated towards it. So yeah, that's definitely you know, sad story how we got back together, but, you know, it's really resulted in rekindling such amazing friendships. You know, I've known them for 10 plus years, you know, going on 14 years for Chris. So
Well, that's interesting because with Love You to Death, like, I think you can kind of see the joy in that song, like the way you guys are working together. The vibe of that song has a lot of energy, and it's really cool to see how you guys have evolved in that way in this new music that's being produced because of it.
oh yeah, definitely. I think that when I first heard the initial idea, because Chris came up with the first verse, and I was like, this is whatever this is, it's amazing. Everything else got put on the back burner. I was like, let's just keep this high energy going. I think we owe it to our fans to put out something, you know, high energy that they can gravitate toward and still have a really good message, you know. So
Yeah, for sure.
It got a lot of views.
yeah, that one did good. Yeah.
Yeah, it did really good. I want to ask you about the Time Capsule EP. I know you guys said that you had started those songs like way back. But what made you like invent those songs and bring them all back to life?
Yeah, with Time Capsule, a lot of those were just done basically. And when we signed with Fueled By, we had to take down most of our discography. And so we were like, if this project ended tomorrow, if something happened and Vinyl Theater was just no more, and we had for some reason we couldn't even make music anymore or access our Spotify or anything, wouldn't we want everyone, if they ever find us, to just see our whole body of work? And so one day we're just like, let's just put everything we had that was taken down, plus some that never saw the light of day, let's put them back up. Just so people have a little bit more to listen to, more context, see the growth. And we named it Time Capsule so people know that, like, this isn't our current work, but this is something we want you to have. There's definitely some growth since then. So
yeah, I was gonna say that you can definitely tell like it's older Vinyl Theater compared to like Love You to Death and Vile and things like that. But it's like what did it show you, like personally, like how much you've grown?
Yeah, it felt like there were some gems that where I was like, hey, this part was really cool, but like just the songs felt like we couldn't quite create the the song. It just felt like it was discombobulated, a lot of them. So it's just like an unpolished band versus, years of touring and working with co-writers and writing, 3, 4 albums on our own. So we hadn't even written an album when a lot of those were made. So it's just like stumbling through, what does it mean to write a song? What's a good song? Does everything need to sound like a single? No. And you learn that the hard way.
No, it's been awesome to listen to, because like I said, it reminds me of old Vinyl Theater, but I love the new Vinyl Theater too. So it's nice to go back. But so obviously we know Love You to Death has gotten great reviews. Vile's getting great reviews. Being played through Alt Nation. What does it feel like to have, like, obviously you guys have reconnected, but now you're having songs like on Alt Nation, and it's like hitting home to people now?
I mean, with Vile, it feels a little like out of left field. So we didn't expect Alt Nation to play it, and to be honest, they've always been really good to us. But once you lose a label, and there are so many labels trying to get onto Alt Nation, and so many bands that are on the verge of being signed or just got signed, it's not announced yet, that ask them to play them, and it's one of the very rare instances where a radio station means what they say. They're not just fluff and saying this is locally programmed radio, and they're not at all. They are. And so Chris actually sent the song to Regan. It was like, hey, we're gonna put this song out. Judging by the songs on Alt Nation right now, this might be a good fit. Just want you to hear it. All he responds with is send me the IRSC codes, so he can play it on radio. And goes, this is awesome. Send me the codes when it's about to come out. So he started playing it. And we were just completely dumbfounded, like that random sending a song for who knows if they really mean what they're saying. Yeah. So it was awesome. It's been kind of mind blowing, because after it got played in Alt Nation, some people started reaching out that I haven't heard from in a very long time, including the GM of Fueled by Ramen sent me a text message. Jimmy, I think I told you about that. And he was like, hey, this song is so fresh and new. You basically just like, obviously we parted ways, but saying, great job and proud of you. And it was well received by us. We're like, that is so cool. He has no reason to say that to us. And it just shows like that label has a lot of really good character, and they, there's bands come and go, and I totally get that. It's an industry, but they're good people at heart. And I know that label is just such a good one to be on, because they really are good people, and it is a business as well. And you have to kind of respect that side of it. So
sometimes it's nice to get that little pat on the back.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you what, it felt great. My head was big for about 30 minutes. And I was like, okay, back to reality. But I was like, yeah, he reached back out. It's been a few years, but that feels great to hear from him. But yeah, and the guys were ecstatic too.
Especially from them, like of all people to reach out to you. That's a big.
Yeah, when there's no benefit for them to even do so, it just shows strong character. So
I mean, speaking of Fueled by Ramen, you guys have actually like opened up for some of those bands, including 21 Pilots, who's huge.
Yeah.
I read about that story. It was something like you guys won a local contest and got a chance to open up for them.
Oh yeah, that's a flash from the past. We we did a talent show in Milwaukee, and whoever won got to open up for 21 Pilots, and we won the Battle of the Bands, and we got to open for them, and they watched our whole set. So another example of like, just you hear all the stories about Tyler and Josh, but everything good you hear, it's like amplify that times 10. They're really good people, and they're genuinely good people. None of it's for show. None of it's for clout or, oh man, this person's so nice, and then behind doors they're mean. They watched our whole set. They had no reason to do so. We weren't even in talks with Fueled by Ramen then. And after the show, they were like, hey guys, that was really awesome. Got to hang out with them backstage. And then less than a year later, we're on their label, on their tour with them. And Mr. Wives, another Fueled by Ramen alumni, which is interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I love hearing that a band is genuine. Sometimes that's hard to find with some musicians, but it's kind of cool to hear that they actually like took the time to like hang out with you guys. And now that you guys are actually getting back into music, is there anything that you would do differently this time around, or any lessons that you learned from the last time when you were putting out albums?
That's a really tough question. Yeah. So I have to think about that one a little bit. So the first thing I would want to say is to like new artists, like
Mhm.
lessons to learn. And the second thing is what I would do different. But I think about this a lot. And even when I'm like going to sleep, I'm like, I wish I could tell some of these new bands coming up, like some of these lessons, but what are they going to listen to me for? You know, everybody has their own opinion. And when you're first get signed and you're really young, I feel like you're kind of like, I know what I'm doing and nobody can tell me otherwise. But just a little word of advice, and something I think we made a mistake on, is learn how to say no.
Yeah.
Don't lose your edge and your hunger to keep growing as a band, and to grow your fan base, and to also grow just as a creative. Don't lose the creative side. The second you start letting the label take point on the creative side is the second you start to lose whatever identity you were starting to build. It's like you're just
Yeah.
starting to make your identity, you get signed and you hand over all the work, and that's what you should always hang on to the label, and they're going to try to kind of carry you because they've signed you. The reality is you're the only person that's going to care about your music at that level, right? You care about your music more than anyone else in the world is going to care about it. Why would you let them have the creative
Right.
control, or give them the work of, we don't know, what do you think? No, you should have an idea as a band. You should have an idea as a creative about the music
Mhm.
video, about the next album, about who you want to produce with. And when you don't know those answers and you're not doing that research, you're going to give away some of that creativity to somebody who's never been part of making the songs with you in the first place. So
Yeah.
that's number one, is, hold on to that as a young artist. And then two, what I would do differently is, just keep writing while you're on the road, do a lot more writing, I think, than we did. We didn't maybe have enough songs for them to pick from. And
Mhm.
and then don't let A&R take out all the songs you think are the best ones. Like, fight for a couple of them. So sometimes
Yeah.
that happens. You lose like 6 songs that you're like, some of those were the best ones, and you wind up with an album that like is missing. If it's an embodiment of you, it's missing its right arm, right? It's got everything else, but it's missing a part of itself. So
That's pretty cool because as a fan, that's not really something I ever would have thought of, honestly. Trying to stay creative all the time, you just assume like you're in a band, you probably are always thinking of new ideas, and you probably are, but are you really jotting them down and taking them seriously? So I really like that idea of passing that along to like a newer band that's coming up.
yeah, and keep a lyric book. That's a big thing. I would write down little ideas in a notebook on my phone, like the note application. But if you don't have a physical thing you can write in all the time, you just don't finish it.
Yeah.
And if you have a physical piece of paper, that's one thing. Writing out lyrics, don't worry about what it's going to sound like, but you're going to come up with some of your best poetic material if you write it down. I started doing that, I feel like, a little too late. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, no, I don't have all the answers, but I feel like those are a couple good ones to kind of base your
Yeah.
creativity on, and keep hustling. So
Well, I mean, I even stayed a fan of just you and your own music as well, Keegan. Like during the pandemic, obviously everybody had challenges, and one song that really was important to me was Everything Will Be All Right. That song kind of was like my little inspiration to keep going. A lot of people lost their jobs and, were working with unemployment and things like that. But just that one little song was like my extra push to like keep going for the day sometimes. So I really appreciate that you were still putting out new music during that time. And if anybody hasn't listened to your music, it is on Spotify and they can definitely check it out there. But one thing that I was surprised about, and I am so curious about how this happens. The song Endless Possibilities was in a commercial that we heard a billion times on Hulu.
It was like every other commercial.
Commercial. How did that come together? Like, how did you get involved with that project?
so yeah, my manager for Vinyl Theater, his name's Brett Bassey, and he still manages a lot of bands, but he manages one of the most successful and basically underground writers that everybody should have heard of, but they haven't. His name's Chris Cernell.
Hmm.
And Chris works with a ton of artists that Brett has worked with. So he put me on with him. And,
Hmm.
I had been resistant to working with Chris Cernell for a very long time because the band's like, we can write everything by ourselves. And God, I wish I would have changed that earlier, because once I got to know him, I said, this guy's awesome. He's bright, he's smart, he's ingenuitive. And we started writing these commercial songs, and we got quite a few placements, Kohl's, Clorox, ESPN, Disney, like just a ton of great placements with him. And so once we started working together, he sent me this track, which was Endless Possibilities with no vocals. And the first time I heard it, I was like, I know exactly what we're going to do. And the song was written for Olive Garden. Olive Garden put out a thing. So yeah, I get like 3 to 4
breadsticks.
That was the original lyric was, I see unlimited breadsticks. No, I'm just kidding.
The song's titled Endless Breadsticks instead of
We were hoping if we got it, they would give us endless breadsticks. We didn't get the placement, so we were a little bit bummed out. But like a few months later, Clorox swooped it up, and then Kohl's. But he's awesome. So he likes to call himself the 2-time Grammy nominated or 2-time Grammy losing nominated songwriter. But he's been nominated for 2 Grammys. He's been in the Lego movies, a ton of Nickelodeon shows. I mean, he's phenomenal. So he's great. If there's any songwriters who listen to this, he gives all advice on his Instagram as well. Huge resource, just one of the best out there. But yeah, that's how that came about. And we wrote it just before the pandemic, actually. And then it got picked up during. And Everything Will Be All Right I was listening to John Mayer all the time, because girlfriend then, but my fiance now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, she turned me on to, I always liked John Mayer, but she's just a huge fan. So once I heard some of his work again, I was like, I wrote Everything Will Be All Right with Chris Cernell. And we thought during the pandemic, let's put out something that makes people like feel like, hey, it's going to be okay, So that was kind of the same message you kind of felt from it too. So
I remember.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Wasn't it on like the championship game? Like it was like leading into a commercial break, and I was like, that's Keegan.
I
think
I don't
think it was Endless Possibilities, but it was like, that's Keegan. I was like, that's leading into a commercial break, and it was
literally that song was stuck in my head, and I was like, why do I like this song so much? I went and Googled it and realized it was you.
It was me.
Like,
yeah, we've met. You're like, oh, it's because I know this person.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes total sense. That's
awesome.
That's kind of cool how that all came together. I didn't even know that was like something you could do.
Yeah, I didn't either, and it became such a fun way to stay in music, when the band was still kind of slowly working towards rekindling things. So
awesome.
Congratulations on that engagement. Like we said, you are in Texas now, right? Instead of the Midwest. Is the inspiration different there? Because, everybody in the Midwest always writes about wanting to leave it. So you did that.
Yeah. And I don't write about it because I'm like, I'm just going to leave the cold where it's at. Like we had a good time in Wisconsin, but I'm in Texas now. I'm in Austin, so it's a great place to be for music. I have South by Southwest. I have ACL. I've met some of my favorite artists. I've seen Mumford & Sons here. I've seen Billie Eilish here. I've seen Lizzo here. So it's like, I can just walk out the front door. A couple of miles down the street, we have all these festivals. So, the inspiration's always there. Then the one thing that I'd say I've kind of escaped is like the lull in winter of creativity and not feeling excited about my life, not feeling excited about, y'all live in Florida. So you I know you totally understand what I mean, where you don't get that. I mean, everybody gets, seasonal depression in Wisconsin, not everybody, but it's just such a large percentage. And I don't have that anymore here, and it's just such a blessing that I don't have to deal with that anymore. And I think a lot of it is just not the doom and gloom. I can go walk outside, enjoy some sunlight. So it's helped me to write 365 days a year rather than, 4 or 5 months where I feel really inspired. So.
Awesome. Now I do want to say, I'm glad you picked my birthday for your wedding date.
It's so funny. You're like, yeah, that's my birthday. I was like, oh, here we go.
But I'm so glad you did that. I appreciate it.
I was like, I had a feeling that was your birthday.
Yeah, because everybody wants to celebrate Jimmy.
Absolutely.
Now I'm gonna know every year and just be like, hey, it's my anniversary. Oh, it's Jimmy's birthday.
The wedding is more important, I promise you. So I got a question. So you guys started in 2012, I think.
Yeah, as Alchemy, which is kind of crazy,
right.
But yeah.
And I know you guys have talked about like challenges in the music industry. Me, myself, and I talks about it. Vile obviously talks about it.
Yeah.
Um, but what do you think is like the story to be told of like this next era of vinyl theater, like you guys moving forward?
Gosh, that's a tough question. Yeah, me, myself, and just a quick side note. I
Yeah.
think I may have mentioned this story to you in the past, but it was the week before we got dropped by the label. We sent that demo to Mike Easterlin and we said, "What do you think of the song?" And he called me and he's like, "Why did you send me that?" Like, I think they're onto us that we're going to drop them, because it's talking about it's going to be just us. And I had no idea. I was just like, "No, I thought you'd like this song." And he did like it. But yeah, I think a lot of those songs are pretty poignant. Vile for me was, I was on antidepressants before I moved here. And I know a lot of really close friends and people who kind of cycle through different antidepressants that get rebranded if they have a negative effect and they're brought back out to the public. And I just wish it wasn't a situation of, you know, it is a really great Band-Aid, and I wouldn't have probably made it through the tough time I was in. But therapy, if you're only on antidepressants, I feel like you do need to get that therapy. You do need to have those extra steps of help. And sometimes you do find something that works perfect for you for long term, and that's awesome. But we have to address the real issue of mental health in the country, and I think it's a really scary time, especially now. And that's what Vile was about all the way back then when I was just struggling with depression all those years. And that's why we decided, let's bring that song from 7-8 years ago. Let's bring it back because, I feel like I have been lucky enough to overcome a lot of that stuff. And so we've been writing stuff closer to our lives now. I shared a song with you, The Great Beyond. I wrote that when my grandma recently passed away, and it just felt inspired to write what I feel like the sound would be as she crosses over into the great beyond. And it's this big epic thing where, it's not over yet. And she's going to move on to this better place. I know she was in pain for a long time. And so we've been writing about things that are close to our hearts, close to our lives. And that's what a lot of the songs have been around about lately. So
Makes sense.
I think that's probably why everybody's loving that song. Like, it's very relatable. So many people go through anxiety, depression, and even the lyrics of that, just the phrase, "I'm just fucked up," like that alone is something that I totally relate to. And, I'm screaming it in the back, like that is just so relatable. So I think that's why that song is really like hitting home with people.
Oh, I agree. And it's nice that it's on Alt Nation because they let us swear, because we didn't even do an edited version. So we're like, if radio actually picks it up, we're going to have to figure this out. So
it's so important in that song. Like, it has to say it.
Yeah, that's how I felt about when Mumford and Sons first came out and they had Little Lion Man, and he talked about how he effed it up this time. And when they would silence it on the radio, I'm like, I really want to hear it. It's what made the song as great as it was, because sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it's appropriate to swear. And that song's definitely one of them. So
absolutely,
just adds that little something to it.
Yeah, a little grit,
Agree.
Now, you mentioned Mumford and Sons, but what are some other songs and artists that are inspiring you right now? Like, what have you been listening to lately?
I have a list, just so you know.
Yeah.
So, have you heard of Charlie on a Friday?
No, but I'm gonna write it down.
Okay, I'm not trying to be mean because I like him, but he sounds like Post Malone's little brother or something. I mean, he must have got the exact vocal chain that Post Malone uses because his voice is identical. But his songs are really cool and catchy. So if I'm feeling like, hey, I just want to drive around and bump something with bass that's not Post Malone but sounds just like him, I'll play that, and then I'll just go back to Post Malone. But the Hunna is a band I've been actually getting into lately. They're really cool. I went back into Oasis again. Oasis, great band. One of my friends turned me on to him again, and Mr. Wives' new song is like,
oh, it's so good.
It's the best song they've ever put out. Like, this is the coolest song, and the new image that they have and they're putting out on Instagram, I'm like, you guys are like a whole new band. I still love all the work they've done. I've toured with them a few times. It's like, I didn't expect such an awesome pivot from a band where you're like, whoa, okay. Like, I can't believe what I'm hearing, but where's more of that? I love it.
They're good already, and now they're like, they're even better. when they were.
Yeah, I don't even know how to describe the song. It's like they mixed the yeah yeah yeahs with like rock, and I don't even know how to explain it. It's just very cool. But them and then Royal Blood, and I don't know if you've heard, they're two-piece band. A guy plays bass and just it's distorted. He's insane. Sings and plays bass, and then a drummer. It's just like kind of like the Black Keys. And then if you heard of Girl in Red before?
Yes.
Yeah.
They played one of the festivals down here. I don't know if we caught them though.
Okay. So Phineas did a few songs for them. So Billie Eilish's brother, who did a lot of her music. So Girl in Red, really cool. I'd say it's a cross between like, it's a little poppy, but it's pretty much like alt music, and she's really good. So if you get a chance to check out Girl in Red, I think you'll like it's called Serotonin, I think.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
On the radio.
Yeah, it's so good.
I think they were in Tampa, Jess.
Yeah, I saw their name on a couple of the festivals. So, of course, we go to a lot of shows, checking them out, seeing what this is about. I remember hearing that song because it kind of goes along with that mental health theme of like what is of interest to me is stuff that I can relate to. So when I heard that song, I really liked it.
Yeah, it's so good. And it fits so many facets of life now because, you know, even just your phone, you're just like addicted to dopamine. And I'm like, I got to put this phone down. I got to get off of this for a second because it'll just grab you and kind of hold on to you. And the song kind of touches on that. Just, you know, she's kind of overdosing on serotonin, and it's so interesting. It's a good concept.
You don't want to spend 5 hours on TikTok endlessly scrolling?
No, I mean, sometimes TikTok gets me. I'll see the funniest video and I'm like, I got to show everybody this dog like, it's doing something goofy. And everyone's like, dude, I've seen this already. Like, stop. How have they all seen it before me? Every time it's just like, I've seen this. Well, can you respond to what you think of it?
I don't care if you've already seen it.
Yes, tell me what you think.
Hey, I'm always down for a dog video. Okay, I don't care what it is.
Yeah, they get me with the rescue videos though, and I'm like, well, now I'm roped in, and I'll watch a full one, and then they'll be like the next 7, just like we rescued another dog. I'm like, oh, what happened? What happened next? And they're like, we'll update you, so follow us.
In the dark.
I'm such a sucker because there's so many stray dogs in Austin too, and it's just like we have 2, and my fiance's like, we can't take this one home, and I'm like, we got to figure something out. So
we have 3.
I'm trying to get a 4th dog.
Yeah, she's trying to get a 4th one. I'm like, three's max.
3's a lot, yeah.
Same with a cat. So I'm like,
well, yeah, at least you have new space in your new home, you know, for 3 dogs. So that's nice. What did they think of the pool when they saw it?
2 of them love it. The big one who we rescued is like scared shitless of it.
So he had some traumatic thing with water for sure.
It's so weird because he's like 60 pounds. He's a lab like hound. You would think he would just jump right in, and I've got the one that loves water and the other one's petrified. He's like, I'll put my paw in, but you better not push me. So so I'm going to ask you the next question. Is there a special song that you would like us to add to the playlist? Because what we're going to do is like, we're going to do 12 episodes of this, and each time we would like a new song, and then we're going to make a playlist out of it at the end.
Is it any song?
Any song you want.
That is really tough. Oh my gosh. I got to look at my most listened to. Did you add Mr. Wives already?
No.
That's what I want on there.
I wrote down Mr. Wives.
I want their new song, Out of Your Mind. That one is just, I guarantee if that's on the playlist, you should see all the playlists that song's on. New Music Friday, new alt, like they're crushing it. So I think that's going to be one of the songs of the summer. I really do.
Awesome.
That's my choice.
We're adding it.
Okay, good.
Got it. I know me and you have talked about this, so I'm going to bring it up at the end. Is there any tea that you can give us with a reunion show? Or where I know you did the survey and it looked like Milwaukee and Chicago were the top 2. Fights, but is there any more like rumblings about it?
So we were shooting for August of this year to try and make it happen. And my wedding's in September. So it's just turned into, you know, I've got the bachelor party. I've got other weddings to go to at this point. And so we're so focused on finishing the album or supposed album, but we're only Yeah, we're like 3 songs in where we're like, okay, we need like 8 more that we love that we want to put on this, right? So we're so consumed with like making this happen. We're being really picky that once that's out this year, it's probably going to end up being early next year that we start really doing things. The thing is, having a reunion show in Milwaukee in January, February, that's a tough sell, right? And so we want it to be a big reunion. I know all my friends and family will come and things like that. And I know people will show up from either Chicago or Milwaukee, depending on which one we play.
Or Florida.
Or Florida. I know a few people might surprise us, but no obligation to come all the way that way. But we want to make sure it's reasonable weather-wise so that it's enjoyable. So we are good friends with the owner of the rave, Leslie, and she's just been she's a phenomenal person, and they're going through a lot of stuff with Ticketmaster. I think is trying to build is it Ticketmaster or Live Nation's building their own venue in Milwaukee, which is directly competing with local venues. Yeah, so it's been really tough. I've been hearing a lot of the news about it from back home, and it's like, they already have a monopoly on the ticket thing. They, and these bands, and they take such a big cut of the door sales. And so, not to get on my soapbox, but I love the rave, and I love
because we hate Ticketmaster as fans. Like it sucks.
Yeah.
Like
Robert Smith of The Cure is doing right now is beautiful.
Yeah.
Who is that?
Robert Smith of The Cure. He's like,
what's he doing?
They got like 7,000 tickets back that were scalped, and he's
good for them.
He's getting some of the customers, fans who bought tickets. They're getting some like a partial refund.
Oh, good.
Pissed like when they announced their tour like 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago.
Have you seen the drama similar story with Taylor Swift merch at her concerts? What people have been doing?
No.
They're buying $7,000 to $13,000 worth of sweaters, shirts, everything. So that's just like bought out and reselling it online for a ridiculous price. That's the thing. I mean, more power to Taylor. That's awesome, but it's ruining her fans' experience to have that.
Right.
But it's just such a strange time. It's such a strange time. When Taylor Swift tickets, some of them were selling for $90,000, and even she's like, I don't know how that even happened, because it's like you said, because Ticketmaster.
Yeah,
she's coming to Tampa next week, I think, and I've been kind of looking at tickets, but I'm not prepared to spend $3,000 per ticket. Like,
that's
how
so
do
crazy.
People afford that? It's crazy.
And she can somehow, because people are like, I'll pay the 3,000. How are you doing that? Like, even people who make a lot, like a ridiculous amount of money, are like, hey, that's a lot of money. That's I don't know how they even fill the stadium at that point, but she sure does. She's the biggest, probably the biggest artist now. Would you say? Like, yeah.
She's there. Yeah. Nobody else has a tour that's quite as successful as that right now. So
I heard her production is $100 million per show.
Holy shit!
Oh my God.
I might be way off. That might be super wrong, but that's what I heard.
If you're right though, like I think it's like 44 songs or something that she's playing a night. It's absurd. It's like 3.5 hour show. It's
incredible though. I mean, what a production. If you're gonna do music to the highest level, I mean, she puts her whole heart and soul into it. Like, I'm not the biggest Taylor Swift fan in the world. I like some of the songs, but like a lot of my friends go to the concerts and they're like diehards, and you have to respect it because they affect their life. She affects their lives so positively, except for the relationship stuff. She's got some bad advice in there. Just kidding. Here and there.
Not so good on that part.
I like the song that's like, hey, it's me, I'm the problem. It's like, well, at least she's recognizing both sides of it. Sometimes she is, sometimes she's not.
You gotta take responsibility.
Yeah, she's on a responsibility tour, I guess.
She's got it. But speaking of tours, if you guys could tour with anybody you'd want, who would it be?
Yeah, let's manifest this.
I want to manifest
get it out there.
I've thought about this. I mean, like Dream Tour, like obviously I'm a huge Killers fan, but also Two Door Cinema Club is like one of the coolest bands out there. But I don't know if their fans or the Killers fans would be like, that band was really cool, I'm going to become their fan. Like, there are certain fan bases like Tone and Pilots. If you tour with them, their fan base will take you in like your family. Same with Mr. Wives and, a few other bands. But Dream Tour, the Killers, Catfish and the Bottlemen, even though they broke up, that was sad. And then Small Pools, Always with Friends would be amazing. And then there's a band called Double Camp that's like getting really big now. They used to be a band that opened for us called The Middle Ground way back in the day. And now they've, maybe getting close to 1 million on Spotify or 700,000 or something. Yeah. And it's reminds me of, do you know who Still Woozy is?
No.
You heard of him? It's a kind of like indie alt. Yeah, if you get a chance, give Still Woozy a spin, just see what you think. But then give Double Camp, all one word, a spin and see what you think. Really good stuff. I mean, I love their music. They're just a 2-piece band, but live they're like a 3 or 4 piece. So
Nice.
yeah.
Cool. I got one more question for you. It could be the hardest of the night.
Uh-oh.
What Vinyl Theater song are you most proud of?
Oh man. Well, Breaking Up My Bones is what broke the band. So like I'm very proud of that. But artistically, I think me, myself, and I'm really proud of, but I'm like, all I did was put my voice on it and read a couple of the verses. Like Chris wrote the whole song. But strangely enough, when I hear it, I'm like, I'm just so proud of this song. It sounds so cool. The chords are cool, the guitar is cool, everything is awesome in this. It's weird to be proud of a song where like I had like maybe 20% influence on it, but so proud of the band for that. But I think Love You to Death, the number one I'm proud of because it brought the band back. It kind of has a message that I resonate with big time, where it's like sometimes you love someone so much that like words aren't even good enough for it. You can't even find the words to say it properly. And I think, especially in my family, we don't call each other and tell each other we love each other enough, like a text here and there once in a while. And even they love that song. And I feel like since then we've even talked more, maybe just subconsciously for me, I reach out more and, I don't know. I'm just proud of the message of that one big time.
It came in PAL. Like it was like the best comeback song you guys could have come back with.
Yeah. We definitely jammed to that in the Jeep a couple times.
Heck yeah.
This is a couple.
It's like literally twice. No.
My Spotify numbers will tell you what I did with it.
I know. Yeah, you shared those with me once. I'm like, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, Jimmy doesn't listen to anything else.
No.
I'm like, have you heard of the Beatles? Nah, I just Vinyl Theater all day.
Just waiting for the comeback. Here it is.
We're here.
So basically, the only tea you really shared with us is that you're gonna have an album by the end of the year.
I did hear that.
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for. It's what we're targeting, but it's tough to get some of these done. We've scrapped a few that were like basically done, and when we've gone, our fans deserve a better song, and so yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting time because we can be as picky as we want. But anything we put out from here on is going to be very much so like we want it to be perfect for the fans, because that's the only reason why we're doing it now. It's just we want people who like us to continue to get music from us, and of course, if we get to play shows again and play a lot of our old discography, that's the big thing. Like, one more mistake for bands: don't stop playing your hits. Don't stop playing the songs that your fans love. Like, don't just go, I'm going to play the full album. I heard recently that, Panic at the Disco played like their full album, like randomly in the middle of their concert. It's like, don't forget the hits. You got to put your best songs, because that's why they're back, and the only reason why you have such a big audience is because of the audience. So don't forget. And we've made that mistake too. Don't forget the fans are our number one. So,
I mean, I could still listen to Breaking Up My Bones and act like I never even heard it before because it's so good.
We're going to open with it and we're going to close with it now. That's the plan.
Well, we really appreciate you, Keegan, for taking the time to talk to us. This has been a lot of fun. And as a fan of yours and Vinyl Theaters, it's kind of nice to pick your brain a little bit and learn more about you guys. We're really excited to see what you guys have coming up. Like, we're always going to support you, and we're big fans.
Well, it was a blast, and I'm glad I got to know you both more as well, because we've been in touch for so long. Right. But no, I wish you nothing but the best. This is such a fun podcast, and if you need help getting anybody else on the show, just let me know, and I'll do my best to make it happen too, because this has been an absolute pleasure. So
we know you got some wedding planning to do, but can you just tell everyone where they could find you, your music, any links that we could share?
Yeah, so we do have a new music video out on YouTube for Vile, which was produced by a local Milwaukee band. Awesome video. It kind of encapsulates the whole reliancy on pills rather than therapy thing. And the song, I love the video. Check that out. It's on our YouTube. And then Spotify is where we kind of can track how well we're doing. So you please listen there first. I know they don't always have a track record of paying artists the most, but just listen to us there first, because it's our best way to track how we're doing, and also to convince more radio stations to play us. So that's what we're focused on, and getting the word out there about us again. So that's basically it.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It was awesome. It's good to meet you again.
Always.
We'll chat soon.
Okay, deal.
All right. See you, bud.
All right, bye.